Hello and good afternoon to all our audience who are joining us today. I think we're live now, and I'd just like to welcome you to this eighth episode, actually, of Future Made Clear. It's a live Q&A session. My name is Adeline Farrelly, and I'm Secretary General of FEVE, which is the European Container Glass Federation based here in Brussels. So today we are going to experience another Q&A live session where we've developed these sessions to share insights and news and trends and what's happening in the world of the customers that our industry is serving, and to also highlight some aspects from the glass packaging chain of what we are doing also to support our customers. So we hope that you'll join us for the next sessions where we try to deal with the interesting topics of the day. And I think today's agenda is a fascinating one, if I say so myself. It's we're going to be taking a look at over the next few years, what will be the sort of what will it look like for the high-end creative and cultural industry in Europe. Um, so the European luxury industry is really an economic powerhouse because it's responsible for 10% of Europe's exports, and it's producing over 1.2 million direct and indirect jobs in the industry. So it really is a powerhouse, but it's also very importantly an ambassador of European heritage, of art and know-how, savoir-faire, as they say in French. Um, but obviously, today, I mean, the news around us is very, very bad. It's depressing. Consumers are facing growing pressure in their pockets to make ends meet, just to even buy some of the basics. And so we have to take a look at what does this mean in the future for discretionary spending from consumers. Um, what will they spend? Will they spend money on luxury items like cosmetics and perfumery? And will sustainable credentials remain the top priority for consumers and brands in the future, especially as we are in such an economic crisis and facing a potential downturn? Next week or at the beginning of October, there's LuxPack Monaco, which is a very important event. It's one of the world's leading trade shows, actually, um, for catering for everything around high-end packaging. And so with this in mind, we have invited a panel of experts to join us today to know, or we're going to ask them, what they think is likely to feature on the agenda in LuxPack, and how are luxury brands finding resilience or the ability to survive in these challenging times. So let me introduce our speakers. First up is Michel Gutsatz, who is president of Le Jardin Retrouvé, family-run maison de parfum. He's also a professor of marketing. So welcome, Michel.
Thank you, Adeline.
And then we have Simona Barata, and Simona is heading up the Prestige Perfumery business unit in Bormioli Luigi. Bormioli Luigi is an Italian glass producer serving the beauty and high-end luxury markets. And finally, I'm very pleased to be joined by Patricia Beausoleil. Very nice name, Beausoleil. Who's head of strategy and perspective department, home, environments, consumer goods, and lifestyle creative director at Peclars. Peclars Paris is a renowned trend forecasting agency that's really helping clients with their global vision, global creative vision. So welcome, Patricia, to this panel.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation.
So actually, I will start with you, Patricia. So I think to set the scene for us today, could you just tell us what are the top 3 trends that's shaping the high-end industry, and what those trends will look like over the next 5 years? And what do you think the people who are attending LuxPack in Monaco next month, what will be the top of mind for those visitors to LuxPack? And so how can brands stay resilient then in these challenging times? So what are the top 3 trends? Set us off there.
A lot of questions in one question, but I can say, first of all, that the top trends that drive the high-end industry are partly the same with those that inspire the other industries. The big difference for the luxury and high-end sector is about the qualitative and exclusive response they are giving to the consumer and to the market. So if I go back to our work at the Péclès Paris agency, our work is consisting on deciphering through social, cultural dynamics, the signs that will make the trend of tomorrow. So for this, we have set up an observatory which studies the evolution of our relationship to 6 fundamental dynamics. So we have a survey about our relation to nature, to science, to space and time, to hedonism, or more precisely, our quest for well-being and happiness, and finally, a relationship to beliefs and identities. So about this territory, a wide territory, we can imagine now 3 key trends, we could say, for the future. The first one will be around sustainability. So today we can see that our relationship with nature and living organisms and also environmental issues is one of the essential pillars in the construction of the fundamental trends for the coming years. And in addition to the notion of statutory or exclusive product we can find in luxury, there is a real consumer expectation for more meaning, more empathy, we could say also, and commitment associated with the values of luxury brand. This could be a part of the answer when you are asking about the idea of resilience. The challenge is to make the luxury sector a benchmark in terms of sustainable development, social and environmental responsibility. So to increase the investment in innovation and the search for new industrial solutions in terms of materials, production, component, and recycling. In the case of recycling, we can obviously integrate the concept of refillable pack also. And this ecological issue turns into real opportunities, I can say, for innovation and brand development. I can give just one example to illustrate by this identification of trend. For example, in a luxury and cosmetic, we can say Chanel, which is inaugurating sustainable packaging and in part from camellia seed husks. And this innovation in terms of sustainable material makes a total sense with the brand's DNA and reinforce its uniqueness through this choice. So the second trend will be about the digital and metaverse, and I can say multi-sensorial or plurisensorial experiencing. Our relationship to science and in particular to digital is really a second major source of inspiration and development for brands. So over the past 2 years, digital has established obviously a privileged communication channel for maintaining contact with consumer for the brand. And luxury brands have been particularly creative in their way of working on digital, and the phenomenon is still growing. As digital is taking this growing place in our daily life, the challenge for luxury brands will be to bring materiality and sensoriality into digital aesthetics and virtual universes. So it's definitely an opportunity for brand, here again, to transport the consumer into a new augmented reality and pushes the limit of tangible to give the consumer new multisensory experiences through sounds, through smell, through texture, directly inspired by the metaverse. So I can give again an example of this phenomenon in luxury industry. Prada, which launches drops on the brand's website in ultra limited numbered edition. So this point definitely the status of exclusivity and luxury, and packaged in a unique packaging with combining a physical piece with an NFT creation. So it's the combination in between tangible and intangible, and in that way they blur totally the boundaries in between materiality and immateriality. And third trend, finally, if we have to identify the third key trend, it will be the evolution of individual and collective identity codes. For example, the new code of masculinity, illustrating something more sensitive and multiplying the vision of male gender. It's also a matter of inclusivity, of fluid aesthetics, and this new decompartmentalization of identity is bringing a real liberation from aesthetic standard, and creativity is the way to free creativity. An emblematic example, again, of this evolution of the normative is clearly perceptible at the level of influencer and key opinion leader on the Gen Z generation specifically. If we refer to the recent cinematographic event, we can say in the Mostra at Venice, Timothée Chalamet, this actor, appearing dressed in a red satin blackless jumpsuit, very far, of course, from the standards of men's smoking. So you can see the gap in between the normative codes and this idea to break the codes to be more creative.
Yeah. Thank you, Patricia. I mean, I know that was a long question, a long response, but I think it's important to set out what's behind the trends and not just to list them. But you know, we're talking about sustainability trend and the digital trend, the metaverse, and the individual dynamic identities, I think you call it. How does that translate to packaging? Just a simple question. How do we bring this down to what we're doing?
I will try to be more synthetic, but it's again a long answer because we have three trends to answer on. First of all, when we're talking about sustainability, ecological, eco-design, and all this big topic, maybe first of all, if we want to talk about glass material and its aesthetic, we are going on lightened glasses. The impact, of course, on transportation is obvious. We will select also more recycled glass, whose is integrating irregularities of colors and opacity. So what is interesting is to see that all this, we can say, initially appearing like a defect, become an added value now because it's considering the unique character they provide. So all this idea of enhancing the imperfection is a part of this eco-design reflection. Then the ceramics and clay in their natural colors also offer interesting alternative and open the way to new aesthetics, more sensitive, directly inspired by the craftsmanship, and again illustrating a return to less smooth, less polished, or even more matte surfaces. Then we have wood offcuts, bamboo, corn, recycled plant fiber from the food industry, such as tea stalks, for example, or corn waste, or hemp fiber, and other natural material, which are becoming a source of creation and impact also the packaging deeply, and it will be, again, more and more a source of creation for the future. Then I can talk about paper also with the paper pulp, which is also a part of this return to more elementary and less transformed material. And then finally, all the organic living material, such as the mycelium, which is becoming a real field of aesthetic expression for certain luxury brands. I will take the example of Stella McCartney, which is proposing a real installation and concept around the mycelium. She's doing handbags made of mycelium, but you have also in cosmetic different producer and brand using this material for packaging, for inner packaging, and it's really fascinating how this living organism become infinite source of inspiration to stimulate our creativity. Then for the metaverse, it's another, it's completely another universe and another creative territory, exploring new register of shapes and material effect directly inspired by the digital expression, the digital aesthetic, and the 3D dimensional design. Here, the idea is to create through these packs new multidimensional experiences, blurring the perception in between real and immaterial. So all the liquid metallization, lacquered effect, lustrous shine, dichroic and lenticular aspect will be very important to develop. Play of mirror reflection, all these almost intangible effects on material are interesting to play with. Playing also with the volume, the shaping of the packaging, distorted with definitely the expression of the digital fluidity. And in that point, glass is a perfect medium to express these unreal surfaces states, to play, to imprison effect of color metallization or material in levitation. And finally, if we need to challenge the norm and identity codes on the third trend I evoked previously, it's really this idea to liberate, to be more free in creativity with a more bold aesthetics, recreating surprise and unexpectation, and with resolutely expressive and positive aesthetics, sometimes going a little bit more far from the gentle, going into provocation in a way. So the color is definitely a key point here. And I can give just maybe one example is the
very quickly, Patricia, because I want to bring in Simone as well. But just go ahead.
Just this idea of breaking the code of norm. You've got the example of the brand Harry Styles, which is developing a nail polish cosmetic brand. So it's a male singer and is promoting through his brand nail polish, color nail polish and cosmetics. So it's definitely a new way to establish brand and to give surprise and to express singular creativity.
Yes, absolutely. And I picked out that you mentioned also that that it was possible now to look at more natural type of packaging and not the highest quality level, but there was some defects might be tolerated in the future, which was interesting to hear. But let me go to Simone. Do you agree with Patricia on the trends that she's listed there, the top priorities for brands and businesses? And do you? What's your view? What's your response to what Patricia laid out as trends?
No, thank you, Adeline. First of all, hello everybody, and thank you for the invitation. Yes, I think that the three trends highlighted by Patricia are for sure those that will be very important for the future development of packaging in the beauty industry. Obviously, the current scenario is proposing to the whole industry new challenges, but even if we look at the good performance the beauty market is having in this last period, this is strictly linked with the ability to propose innovative solution and new sustainable packaging and new sustainable solutions. So for sure, I think that sustainability will be an important axis for the future. There is a challenge for everybody. I think that everybody has to cooperate, all the different actors along the chain has to cooperate to propose more sustainable solutions, more sustainable product to increase the sustainability and decarbonization of processes. Glass for sure will have a role in this. Glass is a material that has the good advantage of this infinite recyclability, so that we can propose several solutions of a recyclable product, but the industry of glass has also the challenge of the decarbonization of processes and to propose some new solution for packaging that can reinterpret the sustainability, not only through the material, but also with some new use, like a refillable solution or a very light solution, as Patricia mentioned. For sure, if we want to answer difficulty of the present, we have to invest in solution for the future, and this solution must be based on more sustainable processes and product. In Bormioli Luigi, we are working a lot on our process in order to reduce the impact on the environment. We have been pioneer since many years of the electrical melting, and we are still cooperating with university and association to develop some innovative solution like hydrogen melting for our furnaces. I think that we are also cooperating very well with our customers, with our partners to propose new design in terms of packaging, thinking, for example, about our eco line that is an ultralight proposal for jars and bottles. We are also proposing many solutions for refillable packaging, both in skincare and perfumery. So I think that maybe we should reinterpret somehow some of the guidelines we had up to now, but sustainability for sure will be most important, one of the most important axes for the future.
Okay, thank you, Simone. And I think from a producer to a customer of the industry, Michelle, as a brand owner, do you also agree, Patricia? What's your reaction to the trends that she set out?
You know, I have two hats, in fact, because I'm, as you said earlier, I'm a brand owner. I'm the CEO of Le Jardin Retrouvé, a niche fragrance brand created in 1975 by my father, who was a perfumer. So maybe the very first ever niche fragrance brand in the world, before L'Artisan Parfumeur, before Frédéric Malle, before Annick Goutal. But I'm also a marketing professor in business schools. So my answers will be using both perspectives, I'd say. I 100% agree with what Patricia said, definitely. We could have a complete session on digital. We could have a complete session on individualities and things like that. I'll just focus on the first trend on sustainability and tell you how I see things. As the CEO of Le Jardin Retrouvé, when we relaunched the brand 5 years ago, we had an important decision to make concerning the way the products would be packaged, the story we would be telling, and of course the distribution strategy. And our starting point was the name of the brand. Le Jardin Retrouvé means in English the rediscovered garden. So what is our story? Our story is that we all have three gardens inside of us. We have the physical garden, which we all know, where there are flowers and trees and birds chirping. And we, even if we don't own a garden, we love a garden somewhere, or we remember a garden, be it our grandmother's garden or whatever. Then we have the inner garden we all have inside us. This is our solace. This is where we recharge. This is, in fact, what helps is focus on our well-being. And the third one is the collective, the universal garden, the planet that we have to protect. So when you're called Le Jardin Retrouvé, you have to have a strategy of protection of the planet. So how did we do it? How did we go this way? Three things we've been doing. The first is cleaning up our formulas. We've been using the formulas my father created in the 60s, 70s, 80s, way before IFRA, way before all the clean beauty movement. So we decided last year to clean up the formulas and go beyond IFRA, to take away, for instance, some ingredients whose biodegradability were questionable. So that at the end of the day, we consider today that our formulas are really harmless. That's a very, it's a very important, and you can't imagine the work it is to achieve that whilst keeping the olfactive profile of the fragrance. A certain number of brands, when they do that, they change, in fact, the fragrance. It's an enormous work because our objective was we are not changing the fragrance itself, so that our customers who are accustomed to a fragrance, well, they still find it. The second way we went is growing the percentage of naturals. Knowing, of course, that in modern perfumery, you cannot not have synthetic ingredients. And the third one is, and now we are above 95% naturals in all our fragrances, including organic alcohol, for instance. And the third one is very important to us and bring us back to the glass industry. Because we decided from the very beginning, exactly like my father had decided in 1975, to only use refillable bottles. I think that this industry has a real original sin, which is that all bottles are crimped. Meaning when bottles being crimped, it means that when the bottle is empty, well, you throw it away. So you've thrown away the packaging, you throw away the bottle, you throw away the spray, you throw away the cap, you throw away everything. Okay. So this is waste. And today, I think we are in a society which does not accept waste anymore. So we've decided from the very beginning to have refillable bottles and refills. Refills come in aluminum canisters, which are made of recycled aluminum and recyclable. And this for us has been a trend, what we've been doing for the past 5 years. And I was so happy yesterday, to go in the metro in Paris and seeing at Station Opéra the whole subway station filled with ads for the new Prada perfume, Paradox, which is dubbed the refillable perfume. So, when you have the metro full of ads about a refillable perfume, it means that it's broken the barriers of niche or of small brands like ours, and that it's going mainstream. So the industry will face a huge challenge there about refillable bottles. I could tell you more about the difficulty of finding refillable bottles in the standard bottles that exist on the market, which led us to create our own proprietary bottle, screw neck. So that's one thing. This leads me to this very quick thing to say concerning what the marketing professor says. The marketing professor says that a brand to be successful needs distinctive brand assets, meaning things, and we're back to the multisensorial thing Patricia mentioned. It can be a color, it can be a sound, it can be something you touch, it can be, they're only sensory dimensions which a brand owns and which makes it really distinctive in the customer's mind and in the customer's memory. And one of them, of course, you've got colors like the orange box of Hermes, blah, blah, blah. But in fact, you have got the bottle shape. You've got two extraordinary examples in history. One is the Coca-Cola bottle. The other one is the Absolut vodka bottle. Absolut vodka built all its awareness on an extraordinary campaign only around the shape of the bottle. So we decided to have a unique shape, and I'll tell you that in a minute in the next session.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michel, because you put a big challenge to us. I mean, you're focusing a lot, your intervention is saying that refill will take an important part in the future. And that's really putting it up to the industry to change completely the business models that are in place today. And so I think that's worthy of even another session on how those middle models will change, because obviously, if you're having a recycling system and a refillable system, they're not the same thing. So, but I think glass, we're lucky because glass can do both of those things, as
Exactly.
Simona
Yeah.
pointed out. So,
Yeah.
you know, and we're also a natural product that comes from sand, soda ash, and limestone, and so I think that we can rise to the challenges, any challenges, but it is complex also for everybody. But maybe, I mean, you know, a refillable system would say to me, maybe we need a standardized bottle, or we need a standardized system. And obviously that makes it very difficult then for luxury brands to stand out. And so maybe the marketing professor in you, can you tell us how does a packaging tell a story? Doesn't it tell a story?
Yeah. Let me start. I'll start with Le Jardin Trouvé, and once again, I'll move elsewhere afterwards. Behind me, you've got our logo and our symbol. I was speaking of the gardens. The symbol you see there, just behind me, is the door to our gardens. This is the symbol we use everywhere, and you can see it. And now everyone here could say, "What do I see in this?" Some people say, "Oh, I see a tree." Some people say, "I see a door." Some people say, "I see a window." Others will say, "Oh, this is just a fountain of water." There are many interpretations, and all are correct. We are using this symbol everywhere. Now, if you allow me a minute, I will stop my my background because I want to show you. I want to show you the real bottle. So here is the real bottle. The real bottle, as you can see, has exactly the same shape than the symbol. So we have taken, whether it's the big bottle or the smaller bottle, which I have here, the 15 ml, you have here two bottles, which are in fact, we have the shape of that symbol. So the door of the garden is inside the product itself. And these are our own bottles. And then you have two doors to this. One here with the name of the perfume. For instance, you have Citron Boboli, which is named after the Boboli garden in Florence, okay? And then at the back, you have a second door with a persona, which is the persona of Citron Boboli, which is completely different from the persona of Tubéreuse Trianon, which is named after the Trianon garden in Paris. So in fact, what you see is that the bottle is a storyteller. And then on top here, I'm sorry, I have to, you find again the symbol. It's engraved. It's stamped, just like the hallmark of the craftsman. You know, a lot of the luxury industry is all about craftsmanship. So the luxury industry is telling the same story all the time, which is we are craftsmen. And once we craft things, we stamp and like a signature. Now, I'd like to just finish by referring to what Patricia said about defects. I think this is huge, okay? And I'll just give you a very, very recent example. We source, all our candles come from Limoges. They are in Limoges porcelain, okay? And the interior is glazed. This is handmade. Of course, it's molded, but the inside, you see, when you see the way it's done, it's hand glazed. Now, this morning, our supplier called me saying, Michel, we have 1,000 with defects, and sending me pictures of those defects and saying, do you want to accept them? And I said immediately, yes. Why? Because this is the proof of the craftsmanship. This is the proof that they are unique. This is the proof that if you take two of them, they're not similar. They're not similar. But that is because today we have to accept that craftsmanship is unique. Even if they all look similar, there are defaults, there are defects, there are differences. And the customer has to accept it and is accepting it on most markets. Not all yet, but on most markets. And I think this is really a perfect example, Patricia, when you mentioned that, I was saying, really, we're in line with what you were saying.
Michelle, thanks a lot. We need to move on, and I'd like to just ask Simone, could you to respond to Michelle there? I mean, in your view, how important is the packaging for luxury brands to stand out on the shelves? And do you think refill will be a niche or what's your view?
Packaging for sure is very important to stand out. That's clear. I think that in perfumery in particular is the first contact with the product, so is a way to tell a story, to give message to the consumer. It is very important for the luxury brands, I think, but for everybody in this industry to be very agile in taking up the new trends and the new messages we want to give to the final consumer. For sure, it will be very important to let's say to allow the consumer to be comfortable in choosing a product that is clearly perceived as a sustainable product. So the refillable solution is for sure one of the important solutions. We see from our point of view, it's an industrial point of view, we see a very strong tendency of all the brands moving from the crimped neck to the square neck, so finally to bottles that are potentially refillable. Then I think that it's a little bit early today to say if this can become a trend or it can just remain for some niche or specific use. But it is clear that whenever the market is able to offer added value through innovative or sustainable solution, it remains very important for the brands to be recognizable, so to propose unique solution.
Yes,
and
yes.
This is a challenge for everybody. It's a challenge for the packaging industry as well. So we, the glass factory, the glass makers, despite the heavy process we have behind our beautiful product, we have to be more and more agile in the future to take up the new trends and to promote some new solution. Of course, we cannot forget that beside this, as Patricia mentioned at the beginning, there is a concept of quality, of perfect execution, of let's say connection within the consumer and the product that has to be maintained for standing up, of course, for standing out in the shelf.
Yeah, brand differentiation.
Yes, and from this point of view, it is not my field, but of course we have to put a lot of attention on the communication, on the way the luxury brands develop their model of distribution, the model of let's say involving the customer during this experience of purchasing, even through some new digital solution that is more and more let's say applicated in our market.
But you mentioned, Simone, that the unique presentation of a product, and Michelle, you illustrated very well in the proprietary property of your perfume. I mean, that you can recognize that bottle; it's very recognizable. So, I mean, the issue is that we need to have this kind of differentiation, surely. I mean, if we're building up these brands and we're building up these products, they stand for something. And so the packaging needs to also align with the credentials of the product. But it is playing a role really on presenting this to the consumer. Now, we know that the Packaging Waste Directive at the end of the year will be reviewed in Europe, and one of the measures that is being discussed or thought of at the moment is to reduce the marketing performance criteria from packaging. And so what is your view? Do you think, will this seriously impact the creative packaging in future that brands can use? And maybe Michelle, I could start with you. Or maybe it might be nice to go to Simona first. I mean, Simona, do you want to say something about what it would do? What do you think would happen if marketing, the functionality of a packaging to present a project was no longer allowed?
Yes, of course, this is an important subject. I think that the decision cannot forget the role that packaging has in the marketing and the communication, not only in the beauty industries, but in many other industries. So for sure, I cannot imagine a complete elimination of this weight. Of course, then it is from a technical point of view, it is also important to say that we cannot measure the environmental impact of packaging just taking in account one parameter. This is not only about the weight, it is not only about the material, not only about the solution for the closure. It is an eco-conception that you can have behind the packaging that is done by many different solutions. So from this point of view, I think that for sure luxury brands will also be able to find out a new new solution to let's say transmit a message and to clearly let's say identify the customer and the customer needs into the product, while maintaining on the other side all the rules and the specification of a sustainable product. If we think about glass, for example, it is an EV material, so for sure everybody is moving in the direction of a lighter packaging, but it will never be as light as a plastic material should be. But we are talking about a fully recyclable material. We are talking about a material able to include a very high percentage of recycled glass coming from even from the post-consuming recycling. So there are a lot of properties that has to be considered. And finally, I think that rules has to keep all of these in account, not only some parameters.
Thank you, Simone. Michelle, you have 30 seconds because we're running out of time. And so I would just like to ask one last question. And so I would ask you, what does it mean for a luxury brand if you lose the marketing potential performance criteria for packaging?
I don't think it will happen. I don't think it will happen. I think the responsibility is threefold. You know, you've got on the one hand the brands that must be responsible, and some of them have not been responsible. You know, they're doing greenwashing, they're doing oversized packaging, they're saying things which are not true. We've got all examples in mind. So brands must be responsible in the way they build their offer and do their marketing. And then you have the customers. The customers, they have high expectations, and whatever the way you turn it, all the studies show, for instance, that luxury, what is luxury is considered heavy. Something which is not heavy is not considered luxury. So there will be a debate there, of course. How light can you, how much glass can you take away from a bottle before customers will feel that basically this is just a mainstream mass product? And then you have the governance actors, which must take all this into consideration. So I think it's a balance that will have to take place. I just want to add one last thing, which I think will just extend by 10 seconds my talking time. I have my personal experience on packaging. I can assure you that all the brands, even so, underestimate the importance of packaging in the decision making of the customer. and that I can share it elsewhere. I have figures that show that without any communication, just changing the packaging, not changing the product. If the change of packaging is good, you can increase your sales by 40%. If it's a failure, you decrease your sales by 40%. This is huge. So it really means that there's a huge issue around packaging, around the brand identity, and around the messages that are given out by the brands.
Yeah, there's a symbiosis actually, especially for the luxury high-end industry between the packaging and the product. So thank you, Michelle. Patricia, I just want to come back to you on something, because we're talking about luxury products here, etc. But what is luxury? And I ask you also 30 seconds. What is luxury?
So I will be very synthetic. So I think that luxury, what is luxury? It's a longer list of different description that make luxury. But what is important now is that if luxury wants to be consistent with the challenges of its time, it has to adapt to new modes of consumption. So luxury finally must return to its very essence. So integrating, of course, increased quality requirements, noble materials, which are the key issue for sustainable answer in terms of packaging, but also in terms of ingredient and product. Limited and local production, I think it's also important when we are talking about carbon impact, transportation, and this idea of timeless know-how highlighted. So for me, luxury is, of course, there is a matter of quality, there is a quality requirement, but it's also a matter of another tempo, a longer tempo to take time to have a design process, design thinking in order to integrate step by step all the deepness and the anchoring to give to the final product a real sense. This relation to time is very important, is definitely one of the key points for regarding luxury. So finally, if I have to give a summarized definition about luxury, I will say top quality, work of excellence, cultural anchoring and heritage, and customized servicing and experiencing, which is also very important. All this personalization, customization, to be really to maintain this idea of being statutory and meaningful at the same time.
Unique, yeah. Okay, I think we'll finish up there because it's quite late. So I would like to thank the panelists for your time. It was very interesting debate. I think we have set the scene beautifully for LuxPack Monaco for next October. And for those of you here and in the audience, well, LuxPack is world famous, I think, event for the luxury industry. We'll be there as the glass industry, and we're using this as an occasion because it's the International Year of Glass, the UN International Year of Glass this year. So there's a big celebration in LuxPack Monaco on glass, and we're going to be showcasing the industry's, remarkable innovations that's being produced both in production, but also in how beauty, creativity, and sustainable development are coming together in a symbiosis in our industry, and how we're helping the luxury market to stand out on shelves. So I hope to see you there. There will be other sessions, LinkedIn sessions. Please, watch out for further sessions and join maybe the Glass Hallmark webpage to keep up to date about the latest developments in the sector. And so with that, I'd like to thank my panelists very much, Patricia, Simone, and Michelle. Thank you very much for your time today, and thank you to the audience as well. And see you next time.
Thank you, Adeline.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks to your whole team. Thank you.